This is the 4th chapter in the 2nd act of the journey home. Let's continue where we left off. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. Let's dive right into it. At the month's end, I was more than ready to end my fast. Remembering a peanut vendor in a shop near the Chotiwala restaurant at the Swargashram. Swargashram? That's funny. Did you know, dear viewer, that around your neck right now, you are wearing a Rudraksha mala that comes from the Swargashram? It's true. You are energizing it for me right now, so thank you. I ventured there with 1 rupee that a pilgrim had donated to me, then the equivalent of approximately 12 US cents, expecting a handful of peanuts in return. But when the shopkeeper saw 1 rupee, his eyes lit up, and he quickly patched together some old newspapers to form a large shopping bag and filled it with peanuts. Today, I will feast, I rejoiced as I walked along the jungle path back to my cave. Deeper into the forest, I found myself face to face with a huge brown monkey who blocked the path like a customs agent. Growling and baring his pointed teeth, he sized up his victim with small, piercing green eyes. Thick brown fur clothed his muscular form. He had a bright pink face, scarred from past battles, gnarled pink fingers, I should say, and shiny pink buttocks. Suddenly, he sprang on me. In one motion, he seized the bag of peanuts, swiftly kicking my chest to catapult away. Gasping, I stumbled a few steps back. When I regained my footing, I smiled, seeing that he had disappeared instantly into the jungle with the whole bag. Some of the peanuts, though, had fallen on the ground during the scuffle. Oh well, I thought, these will have to suffice for breaking my fast. As I stooped to pick them up, another monkey leaped from a tree, scooped up every peanut, and disappeared. I was not spared a single nut. As I proceeded to my cave for the night, my stomach rumbled. Compared to the treasure of spiritual experience, worldly acquisition is like these peanuts, I thought to myself. People lie, cry, and die for a few of these peanuts. They fight and struggle for a handful. Wars are waged over them, but at any moment, a monkey, another's greed, or even the inevitable march of time may plunder from us our cherished peanuts. The next morning, I traveled by foot to the far end of the Ganga bank in Rishikesh. Climbing up a mountain, I arrived at Shankaracharya Nagar, the ashram of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, whom, if I'm not mistaken, is the guru of the Beatles. In this hermitage, earthen pathways wound through ancient trees, fragrant bushes, and flowering vines, leading to quaint huts for meditation. Further on, I found myself at the brink of a steep cliff that offered a spectacular view of the river Ganga. Near the edge of the cliff was a simple home of Maharishi. Entering, I found myself in a room with a flower-adorned altar. On it was a picture of the Maharishi's guru, Brahmananda Saraswati. He had a white beard. His long white hair was combed back from his clear brow, and he was sitting on a tiger skin. An esteemed yogi, he was the first in over 150 years to be awarded the post of Shankaracharya of the Himalayan region, Jyotirmath, a role similar to a pope's. In the morning and evening, the residents of the ashram came together in Maharishi's puja room. to chant hymns, offer articles of worship, and conclude the ceremony with group meditation. Somebody told me that Maharishi preferred to meditate in the basement, a dark, cave-like cellar into which few descended. The cool, silent cellar turned out to be my favorite place to meditate also. It was here that I especially felt the Maharishi's presence as a deep peace and serenity, as it permeated my mind and body. By the way, Maharishi is a title. Rishi is Sanskrit for a seer, one with divine sight. Maha means great, so great seer. Maharishi. Maharishi was born in 1917 in central India and graduated with a physics degree from Allahabad University. For 13 years, he served his guru, Brahmananda Saraswati, which, on the topic of explaining the Sanskrit, Ananda means bliss, Brahma means ultimate, Brahmananda means the ultimate bliss. Saraswati is the name of a sacred river goddess. Also the title of the lineage, the monk order, which he must be from. So he served his guru, Brahmananda Saraswati, in the position of secretary. Before departing from the world, his guru gave him this order: "What I have taught you also contains knowledge of the technique for the householder, which has been misinterpreted and forgotten over the centuries. Don't think of money for traveling here and there. Don't worry and don't be afraid of being alone. Don't be anxious about anything. Begin working and everything will go by itself." To prepare for his mission, Maharishi entered the caves of Uttar Kashi for 2 years of solitary meditation. Then, in 1955, he began teaching Transcendental Meditation, TM, and established his hillside ashram in Rishikesh. From 1957 on, he began his travels across the world. The Maharishi Mahesh Yogi taught that by practicing TM, our consciousness enters into finer and more subtle states. The goal is to enter a state more subtle than our ordinary states of wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. To meditate, then, is to experience a consciousness beyond the subtle existence of the mind and the ego, for it is in that liberated state of pure being that we experience the eternal self. Maharishi was especially creative in harmonizing modern scientific technology with the ancient sciences of yoga. Although the Maharishi was abroad while I was there, under his inspiration in the sanctuary of his ashram, I read his books, The Science of Being and Art of Living, and 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Every evening at Shankaracharya Nagar, I spent time with an Australian sadhu named Bevin, a leader of the ashram and one of Maharishi's closest disciples. Together we met in his hut, where we listened to reel-to-reel tapes of the Maharishi and discussed his teachings. I remember hearing the Maharishi say in his high-pitched and often giggling voice, "Here, we make no empty promise of heaven after death, but the positive experience of heavenly bliss during lifetime. Come, whoever desires it." His technique was simple. Only 15 to 20 minutes of effortless, quote-unquote, meditation in the morning and evening, and no need for lifestyle changes or religious and philosophical adjustments. He taught that life is essentially bliss, that we are essentially beings of bliss, and that TM can bring us into contact with this blissful state of being by gently directing our mind's natural tendency to seek after happiness toward the inherent happiness of our being. He would sometimes refer to this as watering the root and enjoying the fruit. It was winter and quiet. Hardly another foreigner besides Bevan and I turned up at the ashram. Bevan told me how, only a couple of years earlier, the Beatles, Donovan, and Mia Farrow and her sister Prudence had visited and stayed with Maharishi. Since that time, the influence of yoga and meditation was spreading throughout the world. Meditating in that sanctified forest and sleeping on that mountaintop were priceless gifts. On 3 occasions, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi appeared in my dreams. He sat cross-legged, holding a flower, his long graying hair and beard merging with his flowing white robes. Soft light emitted from his rounded face. Although a physically small man, his presence was immense. His soft but penetrating gaze seemed to be calling me into a realm of timeless peace. He did not speak, but simply smiled upon me, closed his eyes, then disappeared. In time, I returned to the solitude of my forest cave, where I asked myself why I left the Maharishi's ashram. After all, I had only enlightening experiences there. Obviously, the Maharishi was a powerful, loving force, and everybody had been so kind. Why did I move about like this? Again and again in the months to come, I would ask myself this question, and each time I would conclude that I wished to learn from many paths and teachers before I committed myself to one. Until I gained the faith to dedicate my life to a path and a master, I reflected, I will remain a wandering pilgrim. Let's pause our reading of The Journey Home there for now. We'll continue the 4th chapter of the 2nd act next time. We're getting into some good stuff, aren't we? I'm very grateful to read this with you. Thank you. If you have any reflections on what we've read so far, I'd love to explore them with you.